Most t-shirts are simply cool to look at or look in. Well, so are ours. But ours also aim to send a message. They aim to put a name on obstacles that once stood in your way and aren't there anymore. Struggles that you turned into successes and crushed. You made it look easy. Shop at mile.today. Mile.today. www.mile.today. A GNS collection.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D-Cal.
Rest my eyes. Rest my eyes.
Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. The E.I.T.H.R podcast has begun. I'm going to welcome you to episode number 73. I'm D-Cal, the host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast, here from the GNS HQ in Northern California. Appreciate you guys taking your time. If you're listening from Japan, if you're listening from Australia, if you're listening from Sin City to Cincinnati, doesn't really matter. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what it is that I have to speak on that's on my mind. I want to give a shout out to those who are following on the social media. You can find us on Instagram, and you can also find us on Twitter with the same handle, which is the E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E-E-I-T-H-R. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, welcome. The E.I.T.H.R podcast stands for the elephant in the room, where we like to discuss certain topics and issues and discussions and things that go on in our world that sometimes isn't the easiest to digest with people in your circle. So we try to get it from a different perspective or different perspectives. So even if you don't agree, you are going to be at least more informed on what you don't agree with. And if you may be in the position to get educated on something that you may not have known, you're going to have at least a more informed reason of why you think differently about whatever it is that we're talking about. So that's that. Okay. You can also follow us on YouTube, where you can get the previous 72 episodes. YouTube, just go to the parent company, which is the GNS Inc., and you can just type in at THEGNSINC. And it should pop up right there. Go ahead and subscribe to that. We appreciate that as well. So, we like to do things a little bit differently than most podcasts. You can hear the music in the background, courtesy of GNS Entertainment. But we also do what's called shout outs and inspirational motivational. So, first thing I want to do is give a shout out to LeBron James. The NBA has a new scoring leader last night. He surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the most points in the history of the sport. And for many people, regardless of what you feel towards LeBron James, that is a huge accomplishment to achieve. That record has stood for nearly 40 years. And there's a great chance it's going to stand again, probably twice as long. That would be my guess. It will probably be twice as long. Whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you agree with some of the stances that he does, whether you don't agree with some of the stances that he's made, you got to give credit where credit is due. Simple as that. Now, inspirational, motivational. I'm going to talk about this real quick. I did not get a chance to post this on our social media, but I want to share this quote with you real quick. It says, "Our fears don't stop death. They stop life." And that's a quote from Hicks and Gracie. Okay? And that is a very, very powerful thing if you really truly think about it. The fears that we have paralyze people. It paralyzes us from taking the next step. It paralyzes us from recovering from any falls. It's one of those things where fear of the unknown, because you don't know what's on the other side. And that scares the hell out of a lot of people. I try to encourage people, for every reason you feel something is not going to work, you have to tell yourself there's equally reason of why it will, why it should, and why you will accomplish it. So if it's a new position at your job and you feel that the position is overwhelming, well, the position is probably going to be overwhelming at your new job, because the people who had the position ahead of you, your superior or the person who ranked you, or whatever the title may be, the circumstances, the dynamic may be, maybe they didn't have the organization skills you do. Maybe they were trained improperly. Maybe they weren't trained at all. Maybe they tried to do a different method and got lost in the method of what they were trained versus what they were trying to do. Maybe they got distracted. Maybe something happened in their personal life and it prevented them from being able to focus on what needs to be done. Don't let the fear of other people's shortcomings determine your limitation. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes all it takes is new fresh eyes, new fresh legs to see and to be able to run with the ideas that you come up with. I remember when I was a manager in San Francisco at Copeland Sports, and I came into the San Francisco location, and I was assistant store director, and we were retraining everybody how to do things properly on the sales floor, and I got a lot of pushback. Silently, no one said anything to my face because I was assistant store director. I was third in position, if you will. And I was also head of the shoe department, men and women. And there was this one dude, Mike, from New York. After about a month or two, he pulled me aside. I'll never forget this. He's like, "Yo, man, I just want to say I respect everything that you're doing and what you're saying and what you got. When you first came in, you started telling us what to do, this, that, and the other, and I paid you no attention." I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool, whatever. He's gonna leave soon." But then you started doing things on the sales floor, and we saw what you were talking about made sense. And so I started doing it. Next thing I know, it's working. So I kind of just peeked from the distance, and I just want to let you know that. So if fear had got in the way of him, he never would have took that idea. So keep in mind, don't let it stop you. We're going to get right into the podcast after one moment.
My name is Andrea Vargas, and I find something special about sharing the gallery that represents me here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, called King Galleries. And it's a special place. I'm originally from California, but we find in this gallery a way to see paintings of the Southwest, of the desert, of the land, and as well as the pottery that's made by living and breathing native Pueblo artists. So it's undeniably a place to receive inspiration and to reconnect with the legacy that belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us as people of the Americas. And so there's much to share. My recent body of work is inspired by the desert, the thunder clouds, and thick paint. And I look forward to more people getting to share that experience and those beautiful aspects of Earth.
Hi, this is Jean from Ukiah, California, listening to the handsome and witty decal of the E.I.T.H.R.
I gotta fake.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that. So, one of the topics we want to talk about right now in the E.I.T.H.R podcast is, I thought this is extremely important. I don't know why a lot of people don't. I mentioned this in the previous episode where teachers and parents need to be on the same page. And this is something that really, really irks me because I know teachers. I grew up like any other kid. You know, you have your moments in life where you're just defiant. Kids are going to be kids. Nothing else you can do about that. Kids are going to be kids. But some of us are parents, and you have to understand, well, you should understand, times are different, but kids don't deviate from the script. A teenager is going to be a teenager. A toddler is going to be a toddler. Your teachers are in a position to I'm sitting here talking about teachers and parents working together, and the background music says murder, murder, murder. That's just funny because I know there's a lot of teachers and parents who feel the same way about one another. Who put this playlist together? So anyway, I feel that parents, you sincerely need to have a better relationship with the teachers and with the parents. You have to have a better relationship because I'm having a conversation with the teacher. We'll just call this person the teacher. And this particular individual is explaining to me how they will send behavior reports, they will send homework assignments, they will send permission slips with the student to the parent. And then the parents get upset with the teacher because they're left out of communication. They are left out of the loop. They are left out of the daily what's going on with their child or their children. This whole time, the child or the children aren't relaying the information to the parents, especially when you have a student who is, I'm not going to say defiant, but they're very difficult to deal with at times. And this teacher is giving the parent a progress. This is what your child did today in class. This is the reason why this happened. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, the student knows, right? Let's go back in a time when we were younger and we were given progress reports to take on to our parents. You knew as a kid, you knew how you acted in class today. You knew how you were in school today. You knew that. You were there. Shit, you're the one who did it. So you know that when your teacher is sending you home with a progress report to your parents about your behavior, you understand what the consequences may be when you get home and your parents or your guardian, whomever is taking care of you, what they're going to do once they see how you behaved, right? Did we do the same shit when we were growing up? You're going to take that piece of paper out because as a kid, you don't really understand the consequences or the steps that come after what happens after that piece of paper goes home. So you get rid of it. And now the parents, the guardian, whomever, is oblivious to what's going on in the classroom. So you think. Now, make it really short. Parents, if you know you have a child who is difficult to deal with, difficult to handle, difficult to teach, because you have a hard time dealing with it and it's your child. You have a hard time dealing with them and they're your kids. If you know this, if you are fully aware that this is a problem, how do you sincerely expect the teacher to have an easier time to deal with your child on top of 15, 20, 25 other students in that classroom? Realistically, mom and dad, You can't expect for that teacher to have one-on-one time with your child when there's other students involved as well. Think about that. Logically, there is no way that makes sense, or it shouldn't make any sense. And I understand there's a lot of parents out there who are overworked and they have 2 jobs and they have something on the side and they have the responsibilities of what they got to go on at their workplace. To come home and the last thing you want to deal with is your child and their behavioral. Especially if the child thinks that they can get away with certain things at home. You think that this teacher is being not supportive, or you think that this teacher is being unfair, or you feel that this teacher is being too disciplined. If you know your child, then you know what the teacher is going through. I honestly, truly feel teachers and parents need to be on the same wavelength. Now, this teacher had an open house not too long ago, and I think some of this shit's a little too out. It's a little too far-fetched. It's a little too out of pocket. When you know you have a child who is rambunctious, they're a little energetic, they have a hard time comprehending certain things, it's not in the best interest of everybody for you to come to the classroom and attempt to intimidate the teacher in front of the kid to let the kid know that you have the child's back. Because what you're doing, whether you acknowledge this or not, whether you're conscious of this or not, what you're doing is you're belittling the authority the teacher has with this child. Here's the problem. When we sit back and talk about spoiled children, right? In this example I'm giving, spoiled rich kids, or kids who get what they want all the time. They come from a household of what? Everyone giving them what they want. Everyone giving them what they ask for. There's no type of discipline. There's no type of structure. There's no type of accountability for the child. When the child gets on your nerves, you give the child what they want to shut them up, to make them be quiet, to stop their complaining. And then the child eventually learns, okay, well, if all I got to do is make noise, yell, and scream, throw a tantrum, dad, mom, whomever is going to give me what I want. So when this child grows up to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and this method has worked up until it changes, that's the method they believe is going to get them what they want. Now, when they come across an individual that method does not work on, they start to break down until they go home and the method works again, which makes it difficult for them to be able to be consistent. And now when you get these reports that your child is being, disobedient or not agreeable, you go off on the teacher. You go off on the person who's trying to teach them the lesson. If you know that your student, you know that your child has a hard time learning certain things, you have to be understanding that what those lessons are that they have a hard time learning. Okay. Now, you might have a certain method that works for your kid at home, but you also have to understand that this instructor at the school can't teach the other students the way your kid learns. They have 25, 26, 27, 30 students to also teach and instruct. So you got to keep in mind, mom and dad, that your little bundle of joy is not the only student that this teacher has. Now, I remember hearing stories of parents attempting to homeschool their own kids when COVID had everything on lockdown. You motherfuckers couldn't wait for school to open up to send your kids back to school so you can get a break. What if you, the people who gave birth to this child, the people who are taking responsibility for this child, can't wait to get rid of this child for a break? Imagine the person who is being paid scraps to teach a class full of littles who have that type of mindset, and you expect for them to teach. Maybe you need to get with the teacher on how your child learns and back up what the teacher is doing at school, at home, or you guys work something out. Listen, man, these teachers are out here busting their ass to do something for your child. The least you can do is work with them to be on the same page. What do you guys think about that? Leave a comment in the comment section.
Hi, this is Clarissa with Sipology, and we have a large selection of loose leaf tea, teaware, and various other products. Come check us out on Facebook at Rissa Tea Party. That's Rissa Tea Party. RISSATEAPARTEA. See you there.
So, enough about that. But I do have a soft spot for teachers. Just because I remember, some of the issues that I would have as a kid. And listen, times are different, man. You can't have teachers doing certain things that they used to back in the day, which I think kind of sucks a little bit because there was a consequence if you acted a certain way. Now I see all these videos of students cussing out teachers and faculty members. Elementary to junior high school kids are literally like, fuck you, mister, you ain't shit. I remember at a school, bruh, I saw this little kid literally walk out of the office, and these two teachers were going after him calmly. They were walking towards him to have a conversation with my man's. And this little person took his backpack and threw it and was like, I'm tired of this shit. First of all, partner, you're 6. What are you tired of? Fuck are you tired of? What are you tired of that makes you want to act that way? And here's the problem. This is what they see at home. Mom, dad, guardian. This is what they see. Whether it's from you or it's from that YouTube babysitter, that TikTok babysitter. Okay? I feel parents aren't as interactive with their children like they used to be. And we kind of see exactly where life is going. But that's the previous segment. I just have to throw that out there because I get really, really frustrated when people don't want to take accountability for their children and they want to blame the teachers for not getting through. And I also relate that to people who are doing dumb, stupid shit and get arrested, and they want to blame everybody but themselves for doing it. Listen, I was young once. I get it. But as I matured, I also understood. Well, hell, man, if I do this and this is going to happen, the consequence, fuck, maybe I should stop doing that. So, that's that. The next thing I want to talk about real quick. Should we treat people with respect regardless of what it is? Or should we treat people based on how they present themselves? Here's what I mean by that. Growing up, there was 2 types of respect. There was respect your elders. No matter what happens, you respect your elders. They're older than you. They've been here before you. They know more than you. Respect them. Okay? But then as I got older, I also learned you never respect anybody who doesn't respect you back, regardless of the age. In today's world, I feel respect has a different definition. It seems respect doesn't hold the same weight as it once did. Where youth, and I'm talking younger than the age of 12, demand you respect them. So again, when it comes to respect, do you respect people who are older than you? Do you treat them the same as you would anybody else? Do you give them respect by the default? I'm not talking about being blatantly disrespectful, but just in general. Okay? Kids, does anyone call, Mr. or Mrs. to any adults anymore? Or do you refer to adults as their first name? Is that a sign of respect? When kids use profanity around adults, especially in public places, is that being respectful? Or is the respect thing stay in your business till we're staying ours? If I'm not talking to you directly, you have no reason of approaching me. Is that the new respect? What do you guys feel about that? Me personally, listen, I am in my early 40s and I still watch my mouth around my elder siblings just because that's how I was raised. I still sir and ma'am anyone who's older than me. That's just how I was raised. And I feel in today's world, anyone who doesn't give an elder their respect by Mr. whatever their last name is, Mrs. whatever their last name is a red flag of disrespect, and there's some type of issue going on in the household where respect is not valued the same as it was growing up. You guys think that's too much? Do you feel that that's a big problem? And if so, what do you feel we should do about it? Interesting. I personally feel if a child is being disrespectful in the presence of an elder, that elder needs to address the parent. Now, with that said, parents, if someone is addressing you about what your child or your children has said or done, that does not necessarily mean they're questioning your parenting. It could simply mean they don't raise their kids that way, or the fact that your kid was being so disrespectful that they needed to approach you about it. Now, kind of going back to the teacher and parent situation, what do you do with that? Do you get your kids back in front of that other adult and tell them, don't tell my kid what to do. You're not his mother. You're not his father. I'm going to take care of myself, and slam the door? Do you show, you know what? I never knew that my son was doing that. I do apologize for that. I'll make sure to address that. That won't ever happen again. In front of the child. Parenting is just different nowadays, man. Respect is different nowadays. It's different. I understand that everyone has, quote unquote, a voice, but I also don't understand why everyone feels that voice needs to be heard. Right? I feel a lot of the youth, good or bad, don't have the same consequences we had when we were coming up, good or bad. But I do feel that because of that, they don't understand why they shouldn't do certain things. What do you guys feel? Do you feel, again, respect? Should it be given automatically? Do you feel respect should be earned? A youngster should have to earn the respect of an adult. Does an adult have to earn the respect of a youngster? Is it go hand in hand? How do you feel about? Listen, kids are going to be kids. When the cat's away, the mice will play. I get that part, but should children also be mindful that when they see an adult, to watch their mouths. Should that be the case? Or is it one of those, again, like I said, is it one of those situations where if my kid wasn't talking to you, don't approach my kid about nothing? I understand we live in a very scary world where people doing stuff to children, approaching kids, snatching kids. I get all that. But would you want somebody approaching your child if they're being disrespectful, especially in a public place? You know, is that something? I'm old school with that. I do. I will, listen, I will knock on your motherfucking door. Hard too. Right? And I'm going to let you know, hey man, listen, your kid was out here throwing rocks at people's windows, throwing rocks at people's front doors. Your kid was out here looking at people's cars. Your kid was whatever, graffitiing on somebody's fence. Your kid, just want you to know your kid's out here throwing rocks at people's cars as it's driving by down the street, trying to make them swerve and crash. Your kid was out here using profanity. Your kid was out here cussing people out. Your kid was out here yelling at this old Asian dude. You know, I want you to know what your child is doing. Now, if you're the kind of parent like, so what? Okay, well, now I know exactly where your kid gets it from. And do you just let stuff go because you don't want to be confrontational? Like, the respect thing kind of goes into different tangents, as you can tell from this conversation. But how do you handle a disrespectful situation? Is it respect by, again, I'm trying not to make this shit long-winded, but do you respect by giving respect, or do you respect by not giving respect unless the respect is earned? What do you do with that? How do you handle that situation? That's, you know, just curious. Those are the two topics I wanted to speak about right quick on the E.I.T.H.R podcast, man. There was some more stuff that I wanted to get into, but I'm going to save that for later. But I do want to make a notice. On Fridays, we are going to be having a segment called What is Your Mile? And What is Your Mile is from the clothing line, Make It Look Easy. Okay? So how it works is everyone has an obstacle, everyone has a challenge, everyone has something that they want to accomplish, if you will. But it's so difficult, whether it's making time for your own sanity, whether it's making time for you to sit down and work with the children on behavioral issues, or planning something with the family. Whether if it's something where you just want to take time to organize tasks that you need to do throughout the day. What is something or some things that you want to accomplish that you just don't know how? And so on the segment of What is Your Make It Look Easy? What is your mile? It allows us to be able to set things that we want to accomplish out for that week. So we're going to have this segment every Friday. So on the social media platforms, whether it's the Instagram or the Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R, whether it's the YouTube page at the GNS Inc., you could, on every Friday episode, tell us what is your mile. You can chat in with the Spreaker app, Spreaker, and you can chat along with us. What is your mile? And we'll speak about it on the podcast. Give you a shout out with your name and your accomplishment, so on and so forth. Until next time, we're going to see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Be easy.
Hey, what are you doing? My brother's doing the E.I.T.H.R right now. Go to the Spreaker app, that's Spreaker. Also, set your alarm for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, so you don't miss any content. Remember, Spreaker, Spreaker, at 3:38 p.m. Search the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R Alright, bro, let's go get some sushi.